In the previous episode we saw the Elder and reveals that there is a way to control internal energy without an energy core. Shocked by this revelation, WoonHwi turns to the Elder and asks if such a method truly exists. The Elder persistently presses on, inquiring with heightened intensity if WoonHwi is truly acquainted with the profound knowledge of the three treasures. WoonHwi, resolute in his understanding, launches into an explanation, emphasizing that these treasures encapsulate the fundamental teachings one assimilates at the inception of martial arts training. The Elder, rather than dismissing the matter, erupts into laughter, enlightening WoonHwi that essence translates to a meticulously polished rice grain, and within the realm of martial arts, it symbolizes the key center. Undeterred, the Elder, with an air of significance, reveals that due to the destruction of WoonHwi's key center, his body remains incapable of harnessing the essence. Unveiling the intricacies, the Elder, with commanding emphasis, prods WoonHwi about the remaining facets, the breath and the spirit. In response, WoonHwi, now immersed in contemplation, tentatively offers origin key as the embodiment of the breath. However, the Elder, with unyielding authority, declares that WoonHwi has only grasped half the truth, unveiling the existence of a distinct entity residing at the core of his chest, the innate true key. WoonHwi, momentarily bewildered, absorbs the Elder's words as the Elder, with fervor, expounds that this unintentionally acquired origin key, referred to as the innate true key, possesses double the potency of the inner key accumulated through the essence. In a twist of fate, the Elder, with a tone of revelation, discloses that the method to harness this innate true key lies inscribed before them. The short sword, enraptured by this revelation, enthusiastically acknowledges WoonHwi's stroke of luck, recognizing the newfound opportunity to delve into martial arts. However, noting WoonHwi's perplexed expression, the short sword, with a touch of humor, remarks that the appropriate reaction should be one of elation, not sorrow, at the prospect of unlocking the secrets of martial arts. WoonHwi, facing the short sword with a demeanor of earnestness, elucidates that his lack of enthusiasm stems from the grim reality associated with the innate true key. He articulates, with unwavering precision, that the innate true key is none other than the origin key itself, the very essence of life energy. A somber truth unravels among martial artists: the employment of origin key is reserved solely for executing a suicide attack. WoonHwi, with a grave awareness, warns Short Sword that frequent use of the origin key would inevitably shorten his own lifespan. The revelation leaves Short Sword in a state of shock. WoonHwi, cognizant of the consequences, resolves in that moment that he will defy the Elder's teachings. He bows respectfully before the Elder, expressing gratitude for the high regard bestowed upon him. However, he candidly admits to his perceived foolishness, asserting that he, with his humble background in the Taiyang clan, cannot fathom the gravity of such power. WoonHwi implores the Elder to reconsider, acknowledging his own perceived lack of understanding. To Short Sword's surprise, WoonHwi's countenance remains unchanged even as he fabricates his plea. As the Elder contemplates WoonHwi's appeal, a glimmer of hope crosses WoonHwi's face. Yet, the Elder abruptly erupts into laughter, questioning WoonHwi's belief that he could deceive him with excuses to avoid utilizing the origin key. With an assertive grip, the Elder seizes WoonHwi's neck, lifting him off the ground. Amid laughter, the Elder emphasizes the stark choice before WoonHwi: either succumb to a swift death by neck snapping or embark on the perilous journey of mastering the origin key, facing a slow demise. The weight of the decision hangs heavily in the air as WoonHwi grapples with the ultimatum presented before him. Short Sword, recognizing the gravity of the situation, passionately implores WoonHwi to accept the Elder's offer. However, WoonHwi, unwavering in his resolve, rebuffs the suggestion, expressing his fear of continued subjugation if he were to yield now. The Elder, incensed by WoonHwi's defiance, demands to know if WoonHwi places no value on his own life. He issues a chilling threat, implying that disposing of WoonHwi would be an effortless decision with no repercussions. Undeterred, WoonHwi, fueled by determination, counters the Elder's threats. He asserts that accepting the Elder's terms would consign him to a life of perpetual control, rendering him a mere pawn in the Elder's machinations. With a teasing smile, WoonHwi discloses the existence of a blood parasite within him and defiantly declares that he would rather embrace death now than live under the Elder's manipulation. Amused, the Elder grins and releases his grip on WoonHwi. He remarks that WoonHwi attempts to deceive even in dire situations. Confused, WoonHwi questions the Elder's statement. The Elder reveals that he was well aware of WoonHwi's lack of a blood parasite. He warns WoonHwi against rash actions, cautioning him not to underestimate the Elder's interests. The Elder dismisses the blood parasite as inconsequential, hinting at a more profound agenda. As WoonHwi contemplates the Elder's words, he realizes that if the Elder had intended to kill him, he could have done so when he discovered the absence of the blood parasite. Intrigued and uncertain, WoonHwi surmises that there must be something the elder desires from him, possibly related to the teachings of the technique in question. Though the specifics elude him, WoonHwi senses that a deeper purpose lies beneath the surface of the elder's actions. The elder, in a conciliatory tone, extends a deal to WoonHwi. If he complies with the elder's commands, the absence of the blood parasite in his body will be overlooked. The elder outlines the simplicity of the task, assuring WoonHwi that mastering the required skill will pave the way for a martial arts battle against the twins. Irritated, Short Sword interjects, expressing frustration that cooperation could have commenced earlier if the elder had disclosed this information. She adds a touch of whimsy, stating that it would have been enjoyable. Undeterred, WoonHwi directs his inquiry to the elder, seeking understanding of the elder's motivations. Annoyingly, the elder sidesteps the question, choosing to press ahead. He declares that, since they are now on the same page, he expects WoonHwi to comply with his will. The elder issues a directive for WoonHwi to commence by attuning himself to the innate key. Once WoonHwi grasps this fundamental aspect, he is permitted to return to his dwelling. WoonHwi, acknowledging the terms, agrees to undertake the task. With that, the elder, content with the apparent alignment of intentions, takes his leave, leaving WoonHwi to contemplate the mysterious path laid out before him. As the elder departed, Short Sword, in a contemplative manner, suggested that she has a hunch that the elder might harbor some liking for WoonHwi. She then shifted her attention to the skeleton, questioning WoonHwi about his intentions with it. WoonHwi replied that he might use it if necessary, but his immediate priority was to determine if he could learn the technique on his own. He expressed skepticism about the need for a teacher, believing that if he could master the mind techniques and martial arts through text, he wouldn't require external guidance. Exclaiming, "Impossible," after perusing the text alongside the skeleton, WoonHwi clarified to Short Sword that mastering the hidden technique could potentially halt the depletion of innate true ki, sparing him from a premature death. Short Sword, overjoyed by this revelation, acknowledged WoonHwi's stroke of luck. Eager to explore further, WoonHwi delved into the text, but his elation was short-lived. His expression shifted abruptly as he realized that, after a few lines, the text abruptly ended. WoonHwi, frustrated, surmised that the crucial information the skeleton should have imparted was missing, and the writer likely succumbed to exhaustion during the transcription. The elder's parting comment about the imperfection of the text suddenly resonated in WoonHwi's mind, intensifying his frustration as he cursed the old man's skeleton. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, prompting WoonHwi to ask Short Sword if she had spoken. Surprisingly, Short Sword denied uttering a word and pointed out that the steel sword beside them was the one that spoke. She suggested that WoonHwi engage in a conversation with this peculiar sword. WoonHwi, his disbelief evident, questioned whether the steel sword before him could indeed speak. Irritated, Short Sword clarified that the extraordinary one in this scenario is not herself or the steel sword, but WoonHwi, who possesses the ability to hear the voices of swords. The realization finally dawned on WoonHwi, connecting the dots to the cryptic message from the sword sage. He had initially misconstrued the concept of sword heart, assuming it to be metaphorical language like many martial arts manuals. However, the revelation unfolded differently. The sword heart indeed referred to the actual voice of the sword. Holding the steel sword in his hand, WoonHwi experienced a sudden manifestation as the steel sword materialized and began communicating with him. Startled by this unexpected turn of events, WoonHwi instinctively recoiled. However, curiosity got the better of him, and he tentatively touched the steel sword with his finger. To his surprise, the steel sword responded once more, introducing himself as the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword, bearing the name given by his late master, the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster. WoonHwi was shocked to hear the name Southern Heavenly Swordmaster. When Short Sword inquired about WoonHwi's surprise, he explained that the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster was a renowned swordsman who had once shaken the Yunnan region with a single steel sword. WoonHwi further revealed that if the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster hadn't disappeared suddenly, the current 8th Sword Master of the Central Plains might have been the 9 Sword Masters of the Central Plains with him included. The revelation added a layer of intrigue and historical significance to the unfolding narrative. WoonHwi, grappling with disbelief, questioned why a formidable figure like the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster ended up in Guangdong, perched on an unnamed mountain and reduced to such a state. His suspicion turned towards Evil Heaven, the eccentric elder, and he asked the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword if Evil Heaven was responsible for the tragic fate of his master. The steel sword countered, revealing that even the formidable Evil Heaven had been unable to defeat the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster in any encounter. Pondering the fact that Evil Heaven, one of the 4 venerables of the blood cult, couldn't overcome the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster, WoonHwi wondered who could have caused the master's miserable demise. However, the steel sword brushed aside WoonHwi's inquiries, urging him to focus on a more pressing matter. It claimed to be aware of WoonHwi's current situation, emphasizing that there was something more important at hand. Amused by the steel sword's assertion, WoonHwi was about to share more details when the steel sword interrupted, declaring knowledge of the cultivation technique. It expressed concern for its master's honor, desiring a worthy successor for the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster's martial arts. Intrigued and pleased, WoonHwi regarded the steel sword as a commendable companion. However, the mood shifted abruptly as the steel sword initiated negotiations. The steel sword highlighted the significance of its master's honor but stressed a more personal concern, the fear of losing its identity as a sword. Expressing a deep loneliness, the steel sword made an unexpected proposition, urging WoonHwi to become its new master. The condition: daily interactions, including touching its hilt and brushing its blade. In an instant, Short Sword vehemently intervened, delivering a forceful punch and berating the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword as a disgrace to the entire sword community. The unexpected turn of events added a touch of humor to the unfolding situation. With a cautious agreement, WoonHwi agreed to become the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword's master, laying down a clear condition that any perverted sounds or strange requests would lead to him abandoning the learning process. The steel sword reluctantly acquiesced, and without delay, it began imparting the cultivation technique. The steel sword commenced the lesson by clarifying the lower dantian's location, situated below WoonHwi's belly button. It emphasized the distinction between the lower dantian and the area where innate ki is sensed, the central dantian, located at the center of the chest. Intrigued, WoonHwi queried about the possible existence of an upper dantian, and the steel sword, drawing on its master's teachings, pointed to the area above the middle point of the forehead, referring to it as the region of mental enlightenment. Emphasizing the immediate task at hand, the steel sword directed WoonHwi to focus on sensing the innate ki in his central dantian, advising him to attune himself to the force of the soul. WoonHwi, perplexed, questioned how he could feel the life force of the soul. Calmly, the steel sword suggested that if the conventional approach seemed challenging, using his 5 senses might expedite the process. WoonHwi, taken aback, sought clarification, prompting the steel sword to elaborate. The life force of the soul, it explained, becomes most pronounced in dire situations or when life is in jeopardy. The key signifiers include sudden capabilities beyond normal, or the sensation of intense heat emanating from the chest, indications of the innate ki's awakening. WoonHwi, the pieces finally falling into place, realized that the elder's grueling training regimen over the past few days wasn't just about building his physical strength, it was a deliberate effort to awaken and attune him to the innate ki. Short Sword, ever the sarcastic companion, speculated that perhaps the elder was just a cantankerous old man who enjoyed roughing up his students. The revelation dawned upon WoonHwi, understanding the elder's intentions in a new light. Observing WoonHwi's situation, the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword, unaware of the specifics, recognized that WoonHwi had, at some point, sensed his innate ki. Instructing him further, the steel sword prompted WoonHwi to reflect on the moment before the current situation, urging him to recall the instance when his desire to live was at its peak. As WoonHwi delved into his memories, retracing the hardships and struggles he endured to avoid living as a third-rate spy and to grow stronger for survival, a sudden surge of energy enveloped him. Perplexed yet exhilarated, WoonHwi questioned if this sensation was the innate ki. The burning feeling within his chest felt vaguely familiar. Short Sword chimed in, reminding him that he had previously experienced a similar burning sensation when swallowing the bloodworm. With a touch of amazement, WoonHwi sought confirmation, asking if what he felt was indeed the innate ki. The Southern Heavenly Steel Sword, impressed by WoonHwi's innate talent, noted that his previous master had struggled for months before successfully sensing the innate ki. Short Sword, ever the speculator, mused that perhaps WoonHwi's heightened sensitivity to the innate ki could be attributed to his experience of dying and coming back to life. The Southern Heavenly Steel Sword, initially unable to comprehend Short Sword's reference, refocused on the task at hand. Instructing WoonHwi to concentrate on the innate ki, the steel sword directed him to perceive a jing, the size of a fingernail, within the central dantian. However, as WoonHwi attempted to feel it in his fingers, the steel sword discerned that the energy might not be circulating properly through his arm into the inner circuit. To remedy this, the steel sword encouraged WoonHwi to use his fist and strike a stone pillar. Despite the nerves, Short Sword motivated WoonHwi, emphasizing that taking risks was essential for martial arts mastery. WoonHwi, determined, assumed a powerful posture, channeling the innate ki into his fist, and with a resounding impact, he struck the stone pillar. The demonstration left Short Sword ecstatic, marveling at the strength of the innate ki. Meanwhile, the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword, equally astonished, noted the extraordinary power behind WoonHwi's punch. Comparing it to the impressive innate ki of its previous master, the steel sword speculated that the subsequent training following cultivation might be drastically shortened by a decade. The power WoonHwi displayed surpassed all expectations, leaving the steel sword to question the true nature of WoonHwi's existence. Was he really a reincarnated soul? The unfolding events added a layer of mystery and awe to WoonHwi's martial arts journey. The elder, visibly angered and irritated, forcefully stomped on WoonHwi's back, demanding an explanation for his attempt to escape. WoonHwi, undeterred, clarified that the elder had misunderstood. He had been tirelessly climbing up and down the cliff for 2 months, lacking proper body lighting techniques, which hindered his speed. The elder, unsatisfied with the explanation, stomped on WoonHwi's face, dismissing his excuse and asserting that moving faster should not be a problem. The elder then inquired about WoonHwi's ability to sense his innate ki. WoonHwi hesitated before admitting that he hadn't achieved that yet. In response, the elder unleashed his frustration on WoonHwi, beating him and remarking that sensing innate ki in just a day was an impossible task. Short Sword, puzzled by WoonHwi's reluctance to be truthful, questioned his decision. WoonHwi, however, explained that in both Murim and other places, it was disadvantageous to reveal all of his abilities. After a brief pause, the elder saw through what he believed to be WoonHwi's ruse, claiming that WoonHwi was trying to deceive him and slow down his vitality exhaustion. Determined to make WoonHwi take the situation seriously, the elder announced that if he lost the upcoming battle, he would hand WoonHwi over to Captain O. Following this declaration, Captain O repeatedly requested to take WoonHwi under his wing, indicating that the stakes were high, and WoonHwi's fate hung in the balance of the impending martial arts battle. WoonHwi, growing increasingly irritated, couldn't fathom Captain O's persistence in trying to recruit him. The elder, standing up, addressed the situation, referencing the twins' claim that Captain O was targeting WoonHwi. The elder warned that if word got out that WoonHwi didn't possess the bloodworm, he would forever remain a lower-ranked warrior. An annoyed WoonHwi questioned the elder about the breach of their agreement. In response, the elder grinned, dismissing the agreement as valid only until WoonHwi resorted to tricks to evade proper training. Seizing the opportunity, WoonHwi decided to assert his own terms. He questioned what rewards awaited him if he emerged victorious in the upcoming battle. The elder, appreciating WoonHwi's boldness, offered a favor as a reward. He tossed a couple of books in front of WoonHwi, instructing him to learn martial arts from them. The first was the Wheel Arts of the Jun-Ryu Temple, a balanced breathing technique that stood in contrast to the skeleton's difficult breathing technique. Short Sword discreetly whispered to WoonHwi that the elder had also taught the Wheel Arts to the twins, indicating a fair fight, and encouraged him to accept the offer. The elder then introduced the second book, explaining that it belonged to the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster. WoonHwi immediately grasped the significance. This was the sword art of the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster, adding a new layer of depth and heritage to the impending martial arts battle. Short Sword found it peculiar that Alkian possessed the secret martial arts manual of the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster. WoonHwi speculated that the elder might have searched through the corpse to obtain it. When questioned by WoonHwi about the manual, the elder casually mentioned that it was given to him. The Southern Heavenly Steel Sword vehemently rejected the elder's claim, accusing him of stealing the manual and attempting to use the Stellar Star Sword art against his previous master. Short Sword added a sarcastic comment, suggesting that the eccentric elder seemed overly eager to win. The Steel Sword then asked WoonHwi if the elder had mentioned showing him the Stellar Star Sword art. Confirming this, WoonHwi stated that the elder planned to demonstrate it every third day starting the following day. The Steel Sword speculated that if the elder had truly mastered the sword art, the twins might come prepared with improved martial arts for the upcoming battle. Short Sword, irritated by the perceived unfairness, criticized the elder for not ensuring a fair and equal fight. The Steel Sword then revealed the elder's motive, explaining that since his previous master, the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster, had died, and Alkian's endless battles with him had never produced a clear victor, the elder aimed to secure a victory through this method. WoonHwi, recalling the Steel Sword's earlier statement about Alkian's inability to defeat Ho Jongdae even once, questioned the apparent contradiction. The Steel Sword clarified that every fight between them had ended in a draw, adding a layer of complexity to the elder's motivations and the upcoming martial arts confrontation. Realizing the complexity of the situation, WoonHwi pondered his limited options, acknowledging that the field wouldn't settle unless he intentionally lost. Desiring to explore alternative strategies before conceding defeat, WoonHwi discussed his predicament with Short Sword. She proposed a plan. During the fight, WoonHwi could deliberately lose the Southern Heavenly Steel Sword and then employ the 8-light short sword technique to turn the tables and secure victory. However, WoonHwi dismissed the idea, anticipating that the elder would likely invalidate the match, claiming it didn't count since WoonHwi used a short sword. The Southern Heavenly Steel Sword intervened, assuring WoonHwi that there was no need to worry. He clarified that the Stellar Star Sword art that the elder had stolen was the version before his previous master had made improvements. After the manual theft, the Southern Heavenly Swordmaster had refined the sword art, addressing weaknesses in the original version that surfaced every few seconds during its execution. Although the sword's movements remained identical to the original, the flow and execution had been enhanced, resulting in an evolved and more potent stellar star sword art. This revelation opened up new possibilities for WoonHwi as he navigated the intricate world of martial arts and strategic planning in preparation for the impending battle. With the revelation of the improved sword technique, WoonHwi realized that the Elder's theft of the manual inadvertently led to a blessing in disguise. The Southern Heavenly Steel Sword's previous master wouldn't have considered refining the art if the Elder hadn't stolen the initial version. Short Sword, though she apologized for potentially dampening the atmosphere, raised a valid concern: would the Elder just accept the enhanced sword art without questioning WoonHwi's actions? The Steel Sword, exhibiting his calm demeanor, explained that perfecting the sword art required exceptional innate talent, like that possessed by his previous master. While WoonHwi faced the dilemma of potential scrutiny whether he won or lost, he chose to defer answering those questions for the time being, trusting that solutions would present themselves. Amidst the strategic contemplation, deep in the forest, two men engaged in conversation. One of them was Captain O, determined to capture WoonHwi this time. Despite becoming Elder Alkian's servant, Captain O felt fortunate to have found a replacement for WoonHwi, ensuring there was no escape for him. Commanding his companion, Do-hyun, Captain O ordered him to kill WoonHwi, setting the stage for a perilous confrontation in the forest.